J4J, Initiative, Bastion, D&D, Law and Goons. Dark Shines, Pando, Dave, Archer, Mike, Flood. Delph, Clariers are somewhere in test space. Mr. V, Mind One, Elo is immune. Grat, calling red line, stupid with a Mind One remix. Merkel, Chan, Laxi, Praise, Dummy, Tiny. My boss is a goddamn fish enthusiast. We didn't crash the server. It only started crashing when feeling mess up jumping. We didn't crash the server. No, we didn't crash it, but we're gladly camping. Philip Pickles Coppins, probably some brave guy telling you to jump into M2 and die. Dread kick of Meebles out now. He's with Karma Fleet that's frantic, comrade damage control around the clock. SNS Mike's birthday, goons have a winning team. Meta show, Tita Thursday, Priest Craball, here's the man. Mountain Frank's Warbone, Square is George, calls the war. Watch it live on Twitch TV, trouble in the Papi ranks. We didn't crash the server. It only started crashing when feeling mess up jumping. We didn't crash the server. No, we didn't crash it, but we're gladly camping. As the bells keep stars, large bubbles, 40s are don't have a camp you win, talk about the weather. 1DQ, T5C, sitting in a gate camp. Low minerals, no miners, hiking up the corn prize. James McCormick, Big Brain, CDK, Lazarus, Alice, Bridge on the Imperial Palace. Jumping bubbles up, keep all the suppers in. Papi messes up again, me Tiny's much some more. We didn't crash the server. It only started crashing when feeling mess up jumping. We didn't crash the server. No, we didn't crash it, but we're gladly camping. Sumo batting and host, strangers invading our land. Brooding pancake cat, World War B invasion. Merc drinking big waves, Titans going to the grave. Cauldron War, Far Jack, Kathy Iron, Kochi Jack. Ultra Cow just killed the Knicks. Just remember, test is next. Legacy, just run away. What more do I have to say? We didn't crash the server. It only started crashing when feeling mess up jumping. We didn't crash the server. No, we didn't crash it, but we're gladly camping. Horn blows, beacons lit, old ghouls are back again. Stained Russians, hurricanes of lost CCP2 drains. And performers, rat bone, terror in profit block. Initiatives in catch again. Russians out of stain again. Philip promised value, Beagles has gone too high. Papi dance, Titans fats, Watchmen crack, rats laugh. Hyperbolic, Papi lies, frats and the rubble eyes. Big fights, die-die, Papi can't take anymore. We didn't crash the server. It only started crashing when feeling mess up jumping. We didn't crash the server. No, we didn't crash it, but we're gladly keep on and 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 on. We didn't crash the server. It only started crashing when feeling mess up jumping. We didn't crash the server. No, we didn't crash it, but we're gladly camping. We didn't crash the server. It only started crashing when feeling mess up jumping.
When it comes to EVE Online, every player wants to know the most effective tactic available. You want to know the meta. The meta controls everything. It determines what will and will not happen. Knowing the meta will alter your views, make you question your reality. It might even make you laugh. And now, you're part of it. You're watching The Meta Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Meta Show. Today is July the 31st, 2021, the last day in July. We are here. It has been a week since the big announcement. It's been a week, and we're here to talk to you about all the stuff that's happened in the last week, all the stuff that didn't happen in the last week, and all the stuff we don't expect to happen in the next month. Because that's what this war has become. What's not happening. Hi, boss. How are you?
Hi. You know what? It's a weird day. It's going to be an even stranger day because, again, we have 1,500 plus people watching the Meta Show right now. And I kind of have the feeling that we are sort of on the hook not only to entertain the Imperium, because our people deserve the best, but also the poor bastards and Pappy, because I don't know if everybody's been given the announcement. Villy, just before the show, pulled a Villy and he said the quiet part out loud, which I love. So this was from Test General, and we pinged it all to the Imperium. But if you're in Pappy, we understand that your leaders keep you in the dark and feed you shit like mushrooms. So as a service, to remind you that your leaders suck and have failed utterly, here was Villy's quote from this was at 11 a.m. my time, so this was just about 4 hours ago. Do not expect anything today, although you never know.
Although you never know.
Now, I was under the impression after the pre-announcement of the big announcement of the about to be invading us that we would be stressed, that I would be on the walls waving the flag to defend the final constellation of Fortress Delve and, do all this stuff. And instead, we find ourselves collectively in this awkward position where the bad guys are just pissing and shitting themselves in failure. Like nobody actually wants to step up and lead or do anything. And so I'm going to apologize to everybody in advance about the show. We have a bunch of cool stuff to show you today. I have a bunch of mean words to say about people that deserve having mean words said about them. But I think that we all, when I say we all, I mean everybody in EVE that isn't part of the Pappy command layer of cowards, thought that we would be here today as they promised, as Pro God Legend promised, as Villy promised, as Elf Boy promised, as they have all promised over and over and over and over and over again for 13 fucking months. These little bitches have failed to deliver. And now Villy tells us that, previously it was Gobbins saying massive disappointment. Now it's fucking Villy saying don't expect anything today on fucking Saturday. So we're monitoring the situation. It looks like I don't really know how to describe it over there because I want people to understand we've never seen something like this before. What happens when 152,000 pilots worth of EVE Online players wake up and realize that their leadership was lying to them and promising them things the entire time, and that they were just projecting at little old me and Brisk and the rest of the Imperium, saying that we were the big liar, pants on fires. Yeah, we lie about everything, and here we are ready to fuck. And Pappy, I don't know if they're going to do it, but certainly their behavior looks a lot more Paspy like, and I don't think anybody in the history of video games has told so many human beings to get ready for a big announcement and a big invasion. And I want everybody to keep in mind here as we go through the show that these dumb motherfuckers asked their line to resubscribe. They asked them to resub.
We're going to play it for you.
We're going to get there. And the fact that we're sitting here and I'm just kind of sipping tea and I'm nursing my hangover from last night.
I got my coffee. No
yeah.
whiskey till we win on the show again, unless it's Friday night.
Yeah. And yeah, so whatever. Let's just dive into this and we'll see where it takes us.
All right, we're going to go through the week. So obviously last Friday we did the show because Saturday at this time, right at this time, thousands of you were logged in to 1DQ and T5Z waiting for the big announcement. And the result was a wet fart. Not only was it a wet fart, it was the loudest, wettest fart. It was the Shart heard round the world. That's our top story for today.
All right, Shart.
So we saw two big town halls on that Saturday, right around the same time. The first was the test town hall. The second was the Gobbins town hall. And we're gonna go through what Pickles had to say, and then I'm gonna go through and we'll show you guys what the Duke of Disappointment had to say in his speech. Which I have to say, listening back to it again, it's just funny because I've never seen a a leader trying to give an inspiring speech use the word bubbles and wubbles in a sentence so many times, because he gets so bogged down in the weeds of like game mechanics. It's like that's his thing. I don't get it. But anyway, let's start from the beginning. 2 weeks ago, we got this from our dear friend, the Duke of Disappointment. Gobbins, war update. We've had several talks with other alliance leaders this week in a big coalition meeting, and we're going to decide how to proceed, and we agreed to a unified plan. There will be a big combined announcement on next weekend. That's it. That's what they said. What was the big announcement? Well, here's the start of what we got from Pickles. He starts talking about why they're doing this. Why are we doing this? Well, here's what he said.
There really is nothing that we need to do. There's a reason we didn't press the 1EQ constellation as hard as we possibly could have. But even though we could keep this going for a while, to be honest, it is pretty boring. The game mechanics being what they are, the situation Eve being what it is, this could be sustainable, but it's not necessarily something that we're all looking forward to.
This is not something we're looking forward to. It's
I never knew whether the recording was going to keep going because, with the his pauses were so long during the actual town hall. I remember that, you don't know.
So he prefaces that with the war. Oh, it's so boring. It's so boring. So, all right. So what are you going to do about it, Pickles? Well, here's what he says he's going to do about it.
The war going on for as long as it has, our FC team has been, going in and out of activity and, all taking breaks and rotating. We finally got enough of us back, and just looking at the situation, it's time to just go for it. Even though we could keep this going on, and we could stress goons out, and stress ourselves out, and eventually put pressure on CCP to do something about these ridiculous mechanics.
Pressure on CCP.
We're just gonna go for it.
Wow. Well, we're just gonna go for it.
That?
I think you're a little low, personally. There you go.
Can you guys believe that, first of all, one, we're just going to go for it. But two, he starts with, we're going to put pressure on CCP to fix the game mechanics so we can win the war. How many times is he going to say that? I just do not understand. I don't understand these guys sometimes. It really drives me crazy. Like, they have to be like, oh, okay, we can't win the war ourselves, so let's ask CCP. But that's Pickles. That's it. We're going to go for it. Okay.
We're here. There's now 1,700 people actually increasing. I don't know if we just got rated or just more people are tuning in because there's nothing to fucking do this weekend because these fucking dumbasses promised us all that they were just gonna go for it. And I'm sure, Brisk, you have some more clips for us to go with, but as we go through here, I think I'm delighted that you have the clips to remind everybody. It's been kind of a crazy week. Our expectations, we were told again weeks ago, big announcement on the 24th. The 24th comes around. The big announcement is we're gonna go for it.
We're going to go for it. So what does he say they're going to go for? This is what they're going to do this week.
It's going to take about a week to get everyone moved. Probably a little bit longer than a week, actually. We're aiming to get everyone moved by a week. I imagine by next week we'll still have some people moving down. But for the most part, we're expecting everyone to be back for within a week or so. And
a week or so.
We're going to start up the aggression again.
A week or so, and then we're going to start up the aggression again after petitioning CCP to change the game for this gaggle of shit fuck cowards and liars to be cowardly liars some more, and then I guess have a win handed to them because in case you hadn't seen some of the things that have been on the Reddits, we're very much in corncob territory. These guys are going, we're not getting owned, whatever, and it's just I got never seen anything like this before. There's 1,700. There's more people watching this fucking show than there are in Jita local right now, and that is not because we are running a great show. We have a great show for you. We got more clips. We got more fun stuff, but also the leadership of Sappy has utterly failed to deliver on any of the promises that they have repeatedly been making, which we're going to stop calling them promises and point out that they are lies. And after they have repeatedly lied and lied and lied, I sense more clips. Brisk, what do we got?
I mean, this is it. So what does he say? What are we going to do? What are we going to do this week? Well, we got move ops. Well, if we don't have move ops, what are we doing in the meantime while the move ops are happening? We got to put pressure on these guys, right? So here's what he announces that they're going to do this week.
What we are going to do is we're going to start turning up the pressure on Goons Logistics right away while people are moving. In a little bit, we're going to form up fleets. We're going to wipe out all the structures that they have left, and we're going to be setting up the NPC delve interdiction that's been rumored from time to time.
Ruined. Nice Freudian slip, Piggles.
What delve interdiction is he talking about? There has been no delve interdiction. These guys talked about, and Gobbin says it too, and we'll get there in a minute. These guys both say and both talk about that they're going to bubble all 11 NPC stations in NPC Delve to make it harder for us to jump stuff in. That didn't last a day. They couldn't keep bubbles on even one of the stations for more than like an hour, and then they just gave up doing it. There's nothing there. There's nothing going on. I have a whole bunch of stuff in 319 because Merkelchen and then Amit and I run fleets out of there all the time. There are no bubbles there. There's nothing there. So this whole week has been move ops, according to them, and we're going to interdict this stuff, and none of it actually happened. It's unbelievable bullshit that these guys will tell their line members and things they claim they're going to do, and now they back off of it. It's unbelievable. Absolutely crazy.
One of the things I want to get in here is I want to remind everybody that when they did this big announcement, which Brisk is helpfully playing clips from, I mean, it might not sound like a big announcement because it's an filled failure speech, but that was the test town hall part of the big announcement. This NPC Delve thing, we've heard this before. One of the things that's so funny to me about this and the fact that their NPC Delve interdiction failed so spectacularly, so rapidly, is that I don't know if ProGod and Villy and Elfboy and the other super geniuses that have been falling down a fucking mountain for the last 13 months into the fucking Sarlacc pit that is the wood chipper remember this because they say so many dumbass things on their dumbass town halls. But we've heard that before. Like, I think it was within just the last month or month and a half that there was an announcement that Papi is going to do a delve interdiction and they would camp these things. And I remember it because they were going to go and they were going to burn down all the towers in NPC Delve and they were going to do this dumbass thing, and it didn't work. And what's fascinating to me is that there are few examples of this kind of thing happening in better managed wars, right? Normally speaking, if somebody has a dumb plan and they try it and they fail with it, then they move on. In this case, the guys in Papi are so used to getting spoon-fed bullshit from their idiot failures of leaders that maybe nobody mentioned to Piggles that, hey, literally like a month and a half ago, you announced the exact same plan and it did not work. But here we are.
Here we are. So here we go. Listen, this is the next part that I have to laugh about because this was the last thing that he said. This was the last thing that he said. And listen to the tone of it. Listen to how excited he is. Listen to the way his voice is so modulating. Jesus Christ, guys, I'm trying to do this, but you keep telling me everything's fucked up and I'm moving the damn thing. So here's what he said.
And that's it, boys. 3 to 4 weeks, probably 4 weeks. Give me 4 weeks and this thing will be over. And I expect we will be victorious.
He sounds confident. That sounds like confidence to me.
Give me 4 weeks.
Now, I can't even hear you, dude.
Give me 4 weeks and this thing will be over. Give me 4 weeks and this thing will be over. Guys, I have this like cool board thing, but it decided it doesn't want to work well today, so I'm sorry about that. This is what is happening. These guys have no idea what they're doing. They are throwing shit against the wall, saying timetables, but then claiming, well, maybe it's 3 weeks, maybe it's 4, maybe it's this week, maybe we'll get in at 6, maybe it's going to be a little bit longer than that. We have no idea. They have no idea. We're trying to watch them and figure out what they're going to do. It's like watching like some guy who's never played poker before play poker against the best guys. The guys are like, what the hell is this guy doing? Yeah, we have no idea what the hell he's doing because he has no idea what he's doing. It's absolutely hilarious. Now, We're going to move on now. We're going to look at Gobbins. Here is what Gobbins starts talking about. Now, the thing that I think I love the most about Gobbins, about the Duke of Disappointment, he starts off with one of the biggest bullshit lies I have heard in a long time. And I want you guys to hear it because it's absolutely hilarious that he would have the balls to even say this and that his members would buy it. Listen to this.
And the stalemate consists in the fact that we have been unable to make progress in their constellation. At the same time, they've also been unable to make progress in pushing back our siege position and
Because we
retaking
haven't been
territory.
trying.
And not for lack of trying. There've been a lot of very constant action by the enemy in especially small gangs, bomber harassment, trying to find any point of weakness in our siege. And although they did manage to get a few timers here and there, as far as retaking territories or pushing us back, basically, interestingly, they saw that our numbers were a bit lower, so they tried to make a big push to see if they could cause some kind of progress for their side. They made a lot of timers, including in our staging. But as a response, people saw that there was finally content, finally fights, started logging back in. And for the actual timers, when the timers came out, we had more than 1,000 people in the fleets to save it, to undo that effort from the goons. And we were successful in that. And unfortunately for them, they saw that some of their aggression ends up benefiting our numbers, just like our aggression benefits their numbers.
Okay, first of all, let me unpack this. He honestly thinks that a couple of small gang guys going out and randomly toasting a system in Delve is a coordinated attempt by goons to take back our space. He seriously thinks that, and he's going to peddle that nonsense to his people, which I think is hilarious. And then they acted like when we had a big fleet and they didn't do anything, and we're all like, well, what do you want to do, guys? Well, let's go into T5Z and ref everything. That we did that was some kind of coordinated thing. We have told you guys, Matani has told you guys on the show, T5Z is the last thing we're going to do after we take back everything else. So the idea that they won because we didn't, because he literally doesn't even acknowledge that the reason that they won those timers, the second timers, is because we didn't form, we didn't show up. And it was because that was never a coordinated plan. It's unbelievable. The bullshit that he feeds his guys, acting like we have been doing anything offensive in a war that we have said from the beginning, this is a defensive war. They're invading us. We don't need to take back our space yet. We will, but we don't have to do it now.
Certainly not on their
timeline.
timeline.
Fucking
Jesus.
Victory because of that is ridiculous. But that's what he says.
I got a couple things here. First of all, one of the challenges that I have, and I really appreciate everybody who is in the Black Hand and in Insurgent Squad, because the kind of stuff that you guys have got to put up with to bring me the bullet pointed intel list, such that I don't have to, as the alliance leader, I can't actually listen to all their town halls because I would have so much brain damage from listening to these dumbass liars week after week that it's worse. They're not just dumbass liars, they're boring. So one of the things that I had to do during that clip that was actually quite damning if it was like printed out and you could read a sentence, so just listening to Elf Boy talk is just, it's like, who needs Xanax? I mean, seriously, if any of you are having trouble sleeping at night, just try to save some of Gobbins' greatest hits, and then you can just put Elf Boy on. I mean, the danger is that you'll wake up the next day and you'll think that afterburning rail tingus are a great way to take the 1DQ1 constellation. But, them's the breaks.
All right, so he goes on. And he tries to explain why the war is boring at this point and why some of the members are what he's hearing from his horde people about their concerns about the war. Listen to this. And I love it because they finally fucking admit it.
It's also clear that people are getting tired or bored. In particular, when I was talking to just members and FCs and CEOs in the last week or two, it seems that there are several factors for this. One of the bigger ones is in general war fatigue. The fact that we've been at this for more than a year now. Another one is general summer slump and post-COVID with things reopening and people going to do other things. Also, one very valid concern and issue is
Valid
that
concern.
for the people that don't want to do things in delve anymore and are interested in just crabbing, what else is there to do if you want to just roam or whale or find targets? Because we keep many blues in order to maintain this coalition and to keep this siege going, it becomes difficult to find targets for folks.
We got too many blues. We got too many blues.
Okay, first of all, before I can make fun of them, I got to wake myself up here, so bear with me. Okay. Whew. All right.
Wake
That's
up.
doing more
Vince,
damage
wake
to
up.
myself than Pappy's done to us all war. Whew. Okay. Wow. Yeah, so we're not bored unless we have to listen to your stupid fucking speeches and your stupid fucking plans for your stupid fucking alliance tournament. Dumbass has no idea what he's doing in a block war. Grand ideas. We're here to fuck. And you dumbasses are sitting over there next door pissing and shitting yourselves. All of your town halls are whining, hypocritical excuse festivals because none of you want to accept the responsibility for what you are actually responsible for. All of Pappy Command is responsible for this situation, but they are all also, being who they are, hypocritical, cowardly pieces of shit, desperately running from the responsibility. Villy is hoping that some other motherfucker like Piggles or Gobbins or one of these other dudes is actually going to tell the truth to the Pappy line because they have never done that before and they're too busy lying about everything. And then when they do tell the truth, it's like, well, gee, we're bored and disappointed because we couldn't manage to do a good goddamn thing because we mismanaged literally the entire strategic forces of the rest of Nullsec and EVE Online. 152,000 pilots worth of human beings and military hardware over now increasingly headed into like month 14 of this sucker. And they fucked it up completely. And now there's 1,800 people here, almost 1,900, watching the show because the leadership of Pappy are literally the single most incompetent group of nullsec leaders ever assembled and have fucked up the biggest and most costly war in a way that has literally never been seen before in the entire history of the goddamn internet yet to date. The scale of this failure, the scale of their cowardice is literally something that has not yet been seen before in human history as far as online video game competitions on the internet goes. But I want you to understand the leaders of Pappy are the ones, specifically the big ones, the fucking Piggles, Villy, Gobbins, Manny. I guess Vince is in there because he chose not to step up, right? These dumbasses are the reason why you, if you're a Pappy member, are in this situation. And I'm no longer sympathetic. Last night we were on the Rampage Incorporated stream, and I had a brief moment of feelings where I thought to myself that
really
I actually,
weird, man.
I felt brief pity.
It was so weird
For the people that still believed in Gobbins and Villy and Elfboy. And then I thought better of it. I'm an I love you man drunk. And I was feeling some worm kind-hearted things. And then I remembered these dumb motherfuckers have been spoon-fed the exact same shit in town hall after town hall after town hall for almost 14 months now. And those who are smart have fucked off because if you remember at the start of the war a year ago, more than a year ago, we had 3,300 of these puppies in fleets every day coming after us, and now they can't get it up. So for the true believers and the diehards that are actually still in T5ZI that have spent their entire time getting lied to by their leaders and love it, they're rolling around in it. They're like, oh, our leaders are pissing and shitting everywhere. I want to fucking roll around in this incompetence and failure and hypocrisy. Fuck you. I hope you enjoy what's going to be coming to you. This is the fate that you chose. You were warned repeatedly through every avenue, and you chose the scenario. You chose your individual corporation leaders, every CEO, every single CEO that is a member corp in a Pappy alliance. You and your leadership team have failed because you chose to go along with this. People like Dunk Dinkle and Brave Newbies were given the opportunity to stand up and say, this is fucked up. This is dumb. We're going to grow a fucking spine and go to something else. So as you are slouching your way towards the Bethlehem Sarlacc pit, I'm just going to mangle my fucking metaphors here, but I want to take slouching his way towards Bethlehem and a bunch of puppies going into a fucking wood chipper, mash it together. And that's already a more entertaining analogy than even anything these dumb motherfuckers have come up with. But the point is, fuck them. Fuck them. You guys chose this. Your corp leadership, your corp CEOs, you were like, gee, you know what? I think we should follow 103 alliances off of a fucking cliff because Manny, Pro God Legend, Elf Boy, and Villy are clearly a bunch of geniuses that are going to know how to take down the goon. So y'all stepped in it. You chose it. You cheered for it. You clapped for it. You're going to get what's coming to you. Eat shit. That's what you get. All right, let's keep making fun of them.
So
let's do it.
So we're moving on. Fountain Frank did a top 10 list last week. Okay. And one of the things that he said on the top 10 list was old strategy N+1 didn't work. We were unveiling our new strategy N+2. That was not a joke, guys. Listen, this is literally what they think is going to win them the war. I can't make this shit up. Listen to this.
As such, our decision has been to call everybody back, get everybody to move back to Delve, those that had moved out of Delve, get everybody to resub, and attempt a final push to try and make progress. And the rationale for this is that, at least on paper, if you look at all the total pilots and manpower that is available for our side, and you compare it to what is available to the enemy, we should have a very substantial advantage, even when accounting for the strong defensive advantage that the enemy has in their current position, which is a single constellation, completely Xenogem, very well fortified with just 2 entrances. Even with all these advantages, if we can get everybody back, I think we have a good chance of making progress in the constellation.
N+1 didn't work. So what's going to work this time? N+2. They literally think that the only thing that has kept them from not being able to take the constellation is they didn't have enough people. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding?
It can't be leadership failures. It can't be leadership failures. It can't be that Gobbins is personally responsible. It cannot be that Pro God Legend is personally responsible. It cannot be that Villy is personally responsible. It cannot be that Manfred Sidious is personally responsible. There is nothing in the world that the high command of Papi loves as a hobby, as a sport. The one thing that I will say, I will give Papi leadership credit for, they can get a fucking Olympic gold medal in this. All of them. They can take first place all the way around in one area, and that is manufacturing dumbass excuses to dodge responsibility. These guys are desperate to avoid confrontations with their own line members, with their own corporate CEOs, with their own people, to acknowledge the fact that time after time in town hall after town hall, these guys have promised one thing and delivered nothing. And they're all dodging responsibility because they are weak leaders. They are weak leaders who have failed spectacularly. And they're going to tell you, we're going to get a lot of excuses. We're going to get a lot of fucking excuses. And excuse number 1 is going to be it's CCP's fault. Excuse number 2 is going to be, oh, the servers. Which, by the way, incidentally, every time Pro God Legend gets up there and whines about servers, I want everybody to remind Little Piggles that he was the guy that got up on Reddit doing all Mr. Narcissistic supply. I'm going to get paid to people to attention to me in my fucking Goku fleets. And was like, oh, if you're a real FC, you know how to take the servers into account. I'm Pro God Legend. Any
good FCs
dumbass
know about the weather.
Any fucking dumbass that still follows Pro God Legend, Gobbins, and Villy, if you're corp CEO, if you're a line member, if you're looking up the chain of command and you're in Papi and you're like, yeah, so for some reason our leadership is just going to drive us off a cliff, and you're cool with going off that cliff, you deserve it. You could have said something. You could have stood up to your leadership. You could have given feedback. Maybe if you didn't like their fucking leadership, you could go to a different corp. Maybe you could actually find an organization that possibly respects you as a human being in some capacity, because that is not Horde, not Test, not any of these pieces of shit. You have made your bed next door to an active fucking volcano of gooniness and hatred, and you've done well pissed us off. And now that you're living right next door to us, and your leaders, your genius leaders that think that sinoing Titans into a fucking cloud of fighter bombers is actual strategy, these geniuses who dodge accountability and responsibility more than anyone are telling you resub and we're going to do things now. And then where are we today? We're starting the meta show off even before it with Villy saying, don't expect anything today, because they are weaklings. They are failures. They have lied to you. And if at this point you still believe them, you're a failure, a weakling, and you get what you deserve. Eat shit.
I will say, at least there are some folks, at least in Test, who have figured it out that the leaders are lying to them.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes, because in it, we have had eyes in T5s, we've had eyes in T5Z, we've had eyes in YZ9 all day today, watching cap after cap after cap jump out in the wrong direction. We've seen it. We confirmed it. It's not fake. There are guys in test in at least one group that has a senior FC as a director warping stuff out right now as we speak. That is the deal, okay? They recognize, at least some of the line members have finally started seeing through the bullshit. But I'll tell you, you know what else? We talk about Gobbins, we talk about McDonald's, we talk about the Duke of Disappointment running his Ponzi schemes over there. Let me show you this. This is really, really funny. So they announce their new T3C doctrine. Rail AB Tengus. Now, I'm not even going to laugh at that because I think it's funny as it is, but I want to show you just, this is what you have to deal with if you're in Horde. Let me play the clip, and then I'm going to show you some stuff.
The disadvantage is that in the current meta, T3 cruisers are very expensive and not as cost effective as hacks. But part of a big assault is taking losses, so that is something that we need to account for.
And then he goes on to tell all of his guys, I need you all to buy T3Cs, buy Tengus. You got to buy Tengus. Everybody needs to buy Tengu. Have a Tengu in there. All right. So here is their Doctrine Tengu fit. I'm going to throw it up on the screen here. This is the Eve appraisal of it. Okay. Their Doctrine Tengu, Railgun Tengu, 648 million ISK buy value. That is the cost in JITA right now. You want to buy one of these, 648 million. It's to sell it, you're going to get 782, but to buy it, 648. What do you guys think they're selling these for in T5Z on Horde Alliance contracts? What do you think?
I have no idea. I am eager to. Some people are saying 1 billion. Some people are saying 1.2. Some people are saying 900 million.
It's close. Here is what they're selling. This is from this morning. 950 million ISK. 950 million ISK. 900 million. 900 million. 900 million.
Holy, for fucking afterburning.
For an afterburning Tengu. If you are I'm gonna leave it up on the screen while I rant a little bit. If you are a Horde member, to buy the doctrine that they are telling you is going to be used for this big push, you are paying a 50% markup over JITA buy price for this ship. I'm not even making this up. Okay?
Wow.
And you want to know what's funny? In it has its own Tengu doctrine. We have it seated in 3-Tech-D on Alliance contracts. We're selling them at a JITA loss of 20% for 600 million ISK to make sure all of our guys get in them. Because we want to win the war. We're not trying to make money off the backs of our line members. Because as you know, the Duke of Disappointment is just running a big McDonald's, as he said. So it costs $5 to make 1,000 fries. So let's charge $2 for every fry, and we'll make a ton of money. That's what they're doing. Okay, it is unbelievable. And in addition, so he starts off with a lie. Then he's telling everybody to get into these overpriced bullshit Tengus that are going to die instantly as soon as they hit our fucking fighter bombers. But then he goes and repeats the same shit that Piggles did about this NPC Delve thing. Listen to this.
And then more ambitiously, the last thing we want to try during this upcoming week is the blockade Delve stations. There is, I believe, 11 NPC stations that can be used for the enemy jump freighters to refill their constellation. And in theory, if you could maintain those permanently locked, it would be very difficult. It's not impossible, but it becomes very difficult for the enemy to reship and bring new resources inside their fortress. It's very difficult to blockade this many NPC stations, so it's kind of an ambitious plan. The way you do it is you spam bubbles on all of them, and then you keep track of the bubbles, and when they get destroyed, you replace them, or you protect the bubbles from being destroyed. So it's something that we'll be trying this week while people move everything back.
All right.
This week.
If you are in Horde and you are watching this show, did you see any evidence at all that you guys were doing anything remotely looking like a blockade of NPC Delve this week? These guys, this is the most adorable thing I've ever seen. Every week, these guys talk and they talk and they talk about the plans they're going to, here's what we're going to do, guys. Here's what we're going to do, guys. Here's what we're going to do, guys. And I guess they're kind of like, you know, when I was growing up, my mom always would tease me because I would leave dishes around all the time. And Mrs. Briscoe will tell you I do that all the time anyway. And then all of a sudden they just disappear and they would get cleaned up. And one day my mom's like, "What, do you think that the dishes just disappear?" No, I'm the one doing it. I think these guys honestly think that all they have to do is say, we're going to do this, and then somebody else is going to do it for them so they don't have to. But I'll tell you, I cannot believe for a second that these guys will keep announcing these big, grandiose, I declare a blockade, literally. Hodgepodge is right. That's what they think it is. I declare a blockade, and we're all supposed to just stop moving jump freighters in. They didn't do any of the stuff that they said they were going to do during this week. Their move ops are moving in the wrong direction. There has been no start of this big war. I mean, it's hilarious. This is what he even talks about using caps and stuff. Oh, we may start using caps again. Here's what he says about that.
But definitely, if there are ways in which we can control grids, get the Sino-jammers down, then escalate and Sino in 2% caps, I think there will be chances for that. That is the path to victory.
That's the path to victory, using caps.
I have a few points on this, and it's just sort of a general horde issue. Now, if you've watched the Meta Show before, you've maybe heard the story about how Gobbins had at Vegas at one point indicated that he sees his line members as customers at a McDonald's franchise. And so like,
that's
they
why
don't
we make
do
McDonald's ships.
The whole transparent, they don't do the whole tribal bonding thing. And his attitude is literally, he told me this to my face, that if it's like a McDonald's, and if the customers are happy with their burgers, then that's great. And then beyond that, they don't do all the stuff that we in the Imperium do. And what's funny to me about this is I'm sitting here and I'm going, and we've been saying this for some time now, why are these people still believing in this fucking guy? Like, why do they still follow Elf Boy? And then once we started seeing their SRP system and how well that did not work, we started reconceptualizing our view of how Horde worked internally, where they're basically more, the whole thing essentially is a compartmentalized renting entity that's kind of like a multi-level marketing scheme, right? So what they have here is Gobloons are given out. SRP comes around eventually. They have buyback programs that their members are feeding into at a way that essentially what happens is, because Pandemic Horde has such a high churn rate, they essentially take from the people that are recently joined, and then they give the assets, the money, the resources to people who are in like Blessed Beans or Vanguard, whatever their system is. And it kind of makes sense that if after all of this time you're a member of Pandemic Horde and you're looking around and you're going like, I like my Big Mac, I should be getting like 3 Big Macs for the value that I'm getting, and I should have it taste a lot better. But if the people that he's attracted are inherently the mooks and the dupes, the people that are going to look at it and go, oh, well, gee, this elf boy seems like he's a great leader and I believe his plans, and give me some gabloons, and gee, anything that the Battani and the Imperium says is obviously wrong. I want to follow the Duke of fucking Disappointment into Delve and buy some 900 million ISK afterburning Tingus from this fucking Alliance tournament dork who thinks that you can Alliance tournament a Hell War. And so again, coming back around to it, fuck them. Like, seriously, like, these people have had more than 13 months to figure this stuff out. They've listened to Gobbin speech after Gobbin speech. If they are like, ooh, wow, I love to just get treated like an irrelevant dumbass mook and get scammed all day, that's EVE Online. There is nothing wrong with Gobbins turning his entire empire into a bunch of renters that he has managed to convince that aren't renters. That's wonderful. If these people want to buy 900 million ISK Tingus from Space's dumbest and most boring multi-level marketing scam, great. Fuck them.
And I have to say, I always thought that the test Middle Management Dinosaur was kind of funny, but now we realize it's like super accurate. Like, that's literally what they have. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to, we've kind of hit the end of this part of the show. We got a couple other things that happened during this week that we want to throw out.
We might go a little bit long today, guys, because I know that Villy has already told everyone who's watching this not to expect anything, and we want to entertain you and possibly educate you by ramming the failures of Pappy's leaders in everybody's faces. So what do we got next?
Not only are they saying don't expect anything, but I've got my guys telling me right now actively that test corps are bridging out freighters from T5Z right now while we're doing the show. Like,
hell yeah.
It's just, I have to say, I think it's just, we're kind of at the end game here.
We're going to try to get clips for you guys. Like we want to not just say that this is happening. Believe me, when we have like video clips and screenshots and things, like we are going to ram it down everybody in T5ZI's throats, because you guys, you're not going to hear it from your leaders that it looks like the evacuations are beginning, but maybe you'll hear it from us.
But this is the last thing I want to play from Gobbins' town hall, because I mean, this is it, guys. You want to know when the war is going to be over? He flat out says it.
Some of you may ask, what happens if the plan is not successful, either because the numbers are insufficient or just the plan wasn't good enough, and then we go back to being unable to push, and they're unable to push back, and we're back to the stalemate. What happens then? Do we go back to continue the stalemate? The answer is no. If these attacks fail and it becomes very clear that the situation is back to a stalemate, then the war will be over.
Again, wrong.
How does he get to be so fucking boring in just one sentence? Like, I should be ranting and raving because he said a bunch of really stupid shit that I can make fun of him. But I'm just, the Duke of Disappointment shit is real, because it's just like, listen to him and I just feel the life. You know who he reminds me of? Elf Boy. I got a new insult for you. I hope you get personally butt blasted about this, you little dick, lying failure bitch. I hope you are personally insulted by this comparison. Listening to Gobbins reminds me of nothing more than one of my favorite shows, incidentally. I fucking love the show, and I love the character in the show. So it's kind of an insult, kind of a compliment, mainly an insult. He reminds me of Colin Robinson from What We Do in the Shadows. Like, he is literally an energy vampire. I feel my soul getting sucked out because he is just so skull-fuckingly boring, in addition to being a lying failure who's scamming his entire alliance and should never, ever, ever be allowed to live it down for an instant, because fuck you, Elf Boy, eat shit. Colin Robinson.
But that they think the war is over. Guys, the war is over when we say it's over, not when you decide that it's over. All right? These guys want to leave. That's fine. You go back and leave, and we're going to harass you the entire way back home.
Get on out, baby. Get on out.
Try to get out.
We're going to have some fun with this. We're gonna have some fun with this. I think. I don't know. It's nothing like this is that, like, if it's true that they're actually like these fucking like, I heard about the freighter ops. I know that Black Omega Security is like ripping down a bunch of their stuff.
Bingo. That's the other thing I forgot to tell you guys. Black Omega Security. They not only is test groups pulling stuff out. Black Omega Security, Carmen Gels Corporation, is actively selling all of the Athenors that they have in period basis, and up in where's the other region? I can't remember off the top of my head. Syndicate as well, and Outer Ring and Syndicate. They're selling everything they've got. Outer Ring and Syndicate. Why would they be doing that if they're going to stay up there? This is the new normal. Why are they selling their stuff? And they're selling it to non-Pappy groups. So there you go. Guys, I'm telling you this right now. These guys are in complete disarray. They say they were going to do a bunch of stuff this week, and they didn't. They say that the war is going to be over in 4 weeks. We know it's not, because we're not going to let them end it that way. We'll end it on our terms. Mm-hmm. But the bottom line is, we have seen nothing. This announcement last week was a complete waste of time. They asked people to resub. Those people have resubbed, and they're doing nothing right now. They're taking an entire day off. They're wasting precious time. And I think the one thing that this war has demonstrated is the idea that time, you have all the time in the world and Eve to do this. No, you don't. Because we've been at this for 13 months now. And their members are tired. They don't want to do this anymore. They're looking for the exits. And their leadership, it cannot figure out a way to bow out gracefully, either to win or bow out gracefully. So what we're seeing right now is the last dying whimper of World War B. And it's coming at a time when Our morale has literally never been higher. We have 2,000 people watching the show right now because everybody's so excited to watch in real time as the guys who have proclaimed that they are going to exterminate us and remove us from the game, watch them fall apart and crawl back under the rocks they came out of. And it's just the most hilarious thing to watch. And I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of this Endgame. Now, what else happened this week? Well, let's ask, what could have possibly been one of the reasons why all of the stuff that they said they were going to do didn't happen? Well, we got a big announcement from CCP, so we're going to pierce the corporate veil real quick.
This is going to be good.
And we're going to talk about this.
I smoked way too much last night. Oh, actually, sorry. ProGod said that I should smoke less, and so I just smoked more because fuck you. That's why.
That's perfectly. We expect it. We do the opposite of what the bad guys tell you.
Mm-hmm.
So, the big news this week, and it was kind of like it wasn't something that anybody was expecting, but it was the big news this week. The Great Heist began, which was the ESS Reserve Bank keys. Now, regardless of what's going on with the Reserve Bank keys, ESS Reserve Bank keys, we know that there's problems with them. CCP's been trying to work on it. I'm on the CSM. All I'm going to say is, I told you so. But the biggest thing that happened this week, I'm going to throw it up on the screen. This is crazy. Market fee and tax reduction. So because of this is an extremely rare, advantageous set of circumstances, they're reducing 50% market-wide broker's fee reduction and a 50% sales tax reduction live for the next 3 months. And to make the deal sweeter, if you've trained all of these skills, you get an even bigger reduction. What has been the result of that? Well, guess what? The result of that is for market alts and for people that have their market stuff trained, they can get a lower tax rate in JITA than you can in perimeter at the TTT. The TTT is set, the minimum you can go is 1%. You can get 0.8% in JITA. So what has happened? There was a giant sucking sound, and it wasn't NAFTA. It was all of the buy orders shifting from TTT over to JITA, where all of these guys have their abilities to trade, and they're making no money with the TTT right now. Now, we've heard Villy say in the past, at least a few months ago, that Test was solely reliant for their SRP on TTT money. Now, he claims, most recently on Trash Talk Tuesday, that that's not the case anymore. But it's probably not the case because what SRP? They haven't been paying at SRP because they haven't been doing any fleets.
I mean, if you fucking believe Villy at this point, like, you know, if you listen to like a modern Villy excuse and you're still like, gosh, I believe Villy, I'm glad, because it means you're going to lose more shit to my screaming, blood frenzied horde of angry goons that want to annihilate everything that you've ever known and loved, right? Like the revenge backlash here is going to be hilarious. And I actually, for the people that are just going to ostrich the thing, they're going to stick their head in the sand or whatever and act like this is not actually happening. It's all goony lies. You know, that's good, right? Like that's more stuff in goody huts for us to get. There are, I have a report here that, well, back to the TTT thing in a second, but that there are simultaneously move ops heading into T5ZI at the same time as there are move ops going out.
Somebody's
of T5ZI,
got the wrong message here.
They can't say anything in public because after Vince Draken did the whole, if you leave the suicide pact, the blue donut, our death pact, then you're a traitor and the rest of Pappy's going to turn on you. That means that the actual, I mean, for the corporate leaders and the CEOs and the directors who are over there and are managing the situation as best as they can, I do have sympathy after a fashion for them, maybe a tiny little bit, but like these evacs have to be handled in a quiet corporate level way because the leadership of Pappy has made it very clear that they are a bunch of little dick bitches that will turn on you the moment that you don't agree that Elf Boy has the best alliance tournament plans to save the day or whatever. It's a shit show. Let's go back to talking about the TTT though, because man,
but this is the fun. So that was a big drop in the middle of the week, and part of me thinks that perhaps the reason why we have not seen any of the things that Piggles and the Duke of Disappointment claim were going to happen this week is because CCP threw this tax thing in their faces. They didn't catch it. They didn't see it. They weren't aware, or whatever they want to say. And the result is now their ability to replace these fleets, especially these 900 million fucking Tengus they're asking all their guys to buy, has been impacted. And the result is they feel a little uncomfortable going the route of, well, we're just going to whelp everything. Because at some point, if they're going to go this way, and they're going to say, all right, we're going to make a big push. This doesn't matter. We're going to use caps. We're going to do all this kind of stuff. They're going to take massive losses. And I don't think their alliance wallets can sustain massive losses. And I don't think their members are willing to jump in, knowing that if they do that, the chances of them getting their stuff back is relatively zero. So I think, if anything, part of what had happened, this was a perfect storm for us. We get 20% of the TTT, but in the end, if the TTT went away, that's better for us anyway, because they get a bigger percentage and it matters more to them. So we don't care if it goes away. So at the end of the day, between their leadership failures, CCP providing a 3-month tax break to everybody that has sucked all of the oxygen out of the TTT, and the fact that every time they plan something new, it all is based on numbers and they're still not getting numbers. And we're going to get into that in a second. It's just, I feel bad I kind of feel bad for these guys, but then I don't, for the exact reason that Bitten says.
They started it. Like
you started it.
Yeah. And so to everybody, I think a degree of human sympathy and kindness is natural in this situation, because these people have followed the dumbest leaders in the history of EVE Online off of a goddamn cliff, and they are now in the Sarlacc pit, and the bottom of it is a very goony wood chipper, and they're right next door to us in T5ZI, because I asked this on the Rampage Incorporated stream last night, and I'm genuinely curious. I would really like to know which of their group decision excuse makers was actually responsible for choosing to do the T5ZI thing, because it is one of the most catastrophically, strategically stupid things that has ever been done in the history of nullsec warfare. And I'm delighted by it. I love the fact that these dumbasses have decided to failure cascade after staging literally one jump from 1 to Q1. But I want to kind of step back here and talk about the TTT thing. So if you haven't heard the story, because Papi is failing to do anything that their leaders promised right now, we have a lot of people watching. They're not just Imperium, and there's a lot of people who are in Papi that may not know the real story of what happened with the TTT. So here's the deal, because it's fucking dead now, and so I could just go ahead and let it all hang out. The TTT was originally conceived as a project between Gobbins and Villy. And I believe, looking back at the time, Gobbins and Villy had clearly already been having talks about the idea of arranging this kind of war. And Villy came to me as a courtesy and said, look, this is a thing that we're going to do. Because obviously it's important to say, if you're going to do this whole thing, that everybody in nullsec who could potentially put a pill in it was aware and signed off on it. And the first thing that I said was basically, give me 20%, right? Like, if you, you're going to do a trade thing, you're going to do this, give me 20%. And the way that the TTT treaty works is, the effort that is required to defend the thing is based upon the percentages, right? So like, literally, I just Kool-Aid man my way into this thing. It was like, you want this thing to happen, I'm down, but you got to give me my cut. Because the thing is this, from an Imperium perspective, it's kind of like with the casinos before the casinos got banned, is if there is going to be one of these things happening, to stay competitive, you got to have your cut. But what's hilarious about this to me now is that because the Imperium only got 20% from the TTT, it's a nice supplement. It was nice to have to get an extra 150 or 200 billion every month or whatever. But it was not our entire financial system. And so one of the things that I think we're going to see as a player base, right? Not just the Mittani hat here, just collectively the galaxy, what we're going to see is that these dumb motherfuckers painted themselves into a corner. And you're about to hear a boatload of excuses, which are, again, the one thing that Papi is the best at, their leaders, is dodging responsibility and making excuses like the hypocritical failure fucks they are. And they're going to come back around. They're going to say CCP nerfed this to TTT, and that therefore that's why they're not invading us or doing whatever that they promised that they were going to do. It's CCP's fault. How dare they? And what I want you to remember about this is it's Horde's fault and it's Test's fault, because there was nothing that actually required these two core aspects of the fucking blue donut to not diversify their finances. we have had to be very clever and creative in the Imperium to be able to find ways to keep this whole thing going when the entire galaxy has been trying to murder us for going on 14 months now, right? And so here we are. And we diversified. It wasn't just the TTT. And so when you hear the excuses from the whining, wretched, hypocritical mouths of the Duke of Disappointment and Piggles, the guy, and I don't think Villy is going to show his face on a talk show, but the excuses they're going to make are, oh, CCP fucked with us. And but the reality is the reason why these guys are fucked for money is they failed to diversify their portfolios. Right. And I want you guys to remember when we're talking about this, Test Alliance and Pandemic Horde and the whole TTT thing started long before the war. It has been there for a year and a half, maybe 2 years. I forget when exactly we started the whole thing off. But the point is that during that time, when they were planning this war, relying on the TTT income, they have had every opportunity and every chance possible to look at this and go, maybe if something happens to the TTT, we should have other sources of income, other ways to pay our SRP, other ways to do anything. And so the failures that they are about to blame on CCP, because it is never Pickles' fault, it is never Villy's fault, it is never Manny's fault, it is never Elf Boy's fault. They're going to say it's CCP. But they just didn't do the fucking job because they have utterly failed on every level at every single duty and responsibility that a leader of an alliance and EVE Online has. These guys are literally the biggest fuck ups in the history of strategic warfare in EVE Online. And we're never going to let anybody forget it. And if you're in the Papi line and you're sitting here going, man, this sucks. I thought I was going to be invading the Goon on a Saturday.
You don't have to be.
Yeah. Blame your bosses. The Papi line is here. Like the Papi line is next door to us in T5ZI. Some of them are leaving. Some of them are coming in. It might be confusion, but their line turned up because their line was promised by Piggles and the Duke of Disappointment that they were going to be doing a thing and we're all going to do a thing and resub because the war is so boring and disappointing, but we're going to do a thing and we're going to go all in. And now there's just more excuses. Try to learn from the experience. Like there is no reason, and somebody's going to do it. All right. This is the thing that bothers me about humans is somebody's going to do this. You can fool some of the people all of the time. And some people are still going to go, gosh, I think Pro God Legend's a good leader. I think that Elf Boy is a good leader. I think that we should follow these guys. And in another year or two, a whole gaggle of dumbasses are going to follow these same idiots off a fucking cliff. And then they're going to go, oh gosh, Pro God Legend seemed to know what he was doing. He's a pro, a god, and a legend. And, I don't know how much sympathy I should have for these people because like, it's just astonishing to me. This war, this war would have been so different if Vince Draken had just stepped up on day one and said, I'm in charge. But on the other hand, Villy wouldn't let him because Villy is weak. And Vince would have gone for a very aggressive strategy, probably with him being in charge of a chain of command and all these different things.
And it probably would have worked, to be honest.
It would have worked a hell of a lot better than this. Whatever would have happened instead of this runaway council system that Elf Boy keeps like project managing into a ditch at every opportunity. But what the fuck?
Right. And it looks like maybe we're actually having some fighting right now. So I hope you guys are having fun in 3-Tech-D, killing all these guys that are coming in.
Are they feeding to us?
One last. We're at the end of the show. We're a little bit over, but I want to hit one last thing.
Yeah, we're just gonna
this is
hit
just
these guys.
More proof,
Fuck them.
More proof of what we've been telling you guys. Despite the big announcement, despite telling everybody go back and resub, the only big push that we have seen into the system was Friday morning. Friday morning, right after downtime. That is traditionally a good time for the bads and a bad time for us, largely because the bads have almost, I'd say 2/3 of the AU time zone people are in that group. But even then, Friday morning, look at this. We managed to outform these guys. We pull up 895 people to their 812, despite the fact that they've got Mangoes, they've got VVV and Fraternity, all big AUTZ groups. We have one Ranger Regiment, even in it, pulled this off. And if you look at the makeup here, if you look at, if I can go into the summary here. We
the
had all
point
our
is
supers
that they
and
got
stuff.
blown the fuck out.
They
right?
did.
Like the,
I mean,
the
the
point is
bottom
they
line
got
was
annihilated.
they had, it was like 48
I think
billion
it ended up
to,
being like, I think we ended up losing 7 something or other.
It's
I don't
42
know. I'm getting these
billion
things mixed up.
to
I
7
think we lost a
billion-esque.
little bit more than that, but yeah.
and I mean, it wasn't even close. And frankly, I remember looking at the Goons Forum numbers. Karma Fleet had, I think, 10 fewer people than all of Tested. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Even after spending a whole week primping, telling everybody, resub, get your stuff out there, go do this fight, let's go, we're going to do it. In their best time, one of their best times where we were at our weakest, we still outformed them and beat the living shit out of them. This is what I'm telling you guys. I got a good feeling that despite this last push is going to be more Battle of the Bulge than anything else. And the result is going to be a pretty solid victory for us at the end of the day. That's what I think is going to happen. Now, we're at the end of the show. Do you have any final words? I have final words, but do you have any final words?
Why don't you give yours
and
I'll give mine, because I've got some thoughts. So I don't do your thing and then head it over to
my
me.
final words are very easy. First of all, one, Chuck Osborne, you said notice me, senpai, you've been noticed. Second, Mind One, happy birthday to our dear friend Mind One. We're all looking forward to SNS tonight. It is his birthday. Yeah. We're going to make sure that we have a good party, hang out with him tonight on SNS. Everybody give a big, warm Meta Show happy birthday to our dear friend Mind One, who has, along with the Meta Show, along with Seriously, been part of the three-legged stool that has kept, and I shouldn't say Meta Show, I'd say INN more in general, the three-legged stool that has propped up our morale this entire war, has made it possible for us to win, because we keep people coming back every week, smiling, happy, wanting to see this stuff. And guys, I know you've been listening to Mittens and I, Herf Blurfs, for a year now about this war. And we tend to say stuff that's really similar. Some of you may not like it, but I'm looking at these numbers, and I have never seen, absent something crazy happening, the kind of numbers that we got today. That tells me we're doing something right. You guys are having a good time. That's what we want. We want you guys to have a good time. That's why we keep putting the show on every week. That's why you keep coming back every week. And we're going to keep doing it until it's not fun anymore. That's probably not going to be anytime soon. Let me just say. Boss, you get the final word.
Thank you. Look, guys, black shirt down for a second. Imagine that it's a blue shirt or something. Sympathy or no sympathy, this is a difficult situation for a lot of the guys in Papi. And, it is reasonable that a lot of them did not believe the things that Brisk and I have said over the last year, even though the things that we were saying are independently verifiable as factually true. There is going to be some population in Papi who are diehard Gargoons and Kool-Aid drinkers who are unreachable. But even Marcus Murphy eventually wised up to things, right? So what I'm saying this, I'm not saying it to the diehard Gargoons guys because I want them to hate my fucking guts and I hope they're really butt blasted about what's about to happen. But if you are in sort of the more reasonable Papi people and you turned up today looking for a fight and you are just now realizing that your leaders have failed you again and that they told you to turn up and to resub and expect a very cathartic last hurrah, because clearly they were promising that even if we don't win, we're going to at least fight for it. And now here's the weekend and we all turned up with bells on both sides. And we are all now, unfortunately, suffering because of the Duke of Disappointment. So for those guys who are, a lot of people are just loyalists, right? They're loyal to their corps. They're loyal to their alliances. Maybe they're not loyal to Elf Boy, but, they're in it for their reason and they wanted to tough it out to the end. And so for those of you that are just now realizing that actually the bad guy goons were the good guys the entire time and that you were being lied to by a bunch of shitty leaders and led off a cliff. And in some cases, this is important. The leaders that they're following are people who were not invested in the alliance or the coalition that they were leading. Specifically, I'd like to highlight Villy and Pro God Legend. Say what you will about Elf Boy. Elf Boy is at least completely committed to his little McDonald's franchise, MLM scheme, whatever. He actually cares about Horde. He does, right? It's a weird, fucked up way, and it might be a rental scheme, but he's invested in Horde. But the guys who led this war, who initiated this war in Legacy, in Test, Vili doesn't give a fuck about Test or Legacy. Pro God Legend doesn't give a fuck about Test or Legacy. Suis doesn't give a fuck about Test or Legacy. Manfred Sidious doesn't give a fuck about Test or Legacy. None of these people are authentically part of the core group of what used to be Test, which is Dreaded. It would be like Goonswarm being led by, I don't know, somebody in not even there's not a good analogy for it, because everybody who is in the Imperium is part of our tribe, right? So what I would suggest for the people that are having a bad time, that are looking around and going, fuck, my corporation is evacing, I got to pack up all my shit, why did we get lied to, Jesus Christ, what happened? Just think about this next time you're in the situation. One of the easiest things that anybody can do to make sure that this kind of shit never happens again in EVE Online and impacts the PCU the way that it did, is simply, as a corporation leader, as a corporation director, as a line member, you don't have to follow a Pro God Legend plan. You don't have to follow a Vili plan. You don't have to follow an Elf Boy plan. In the future, in future wars, make sure that the people that you are choosing to follow are fully invested and consistent in practicing what they preach. And, you know, if we end up in a scenario where Pro God Legend is still a block level leader that people are choosing to follow, well, that's going to make my job easier, because anything that he tries to do is automatically doomed to failure. But this is a teachable moment for a lot of people in Papi. Independently verify what your leaders say. Don't just drink the Kool-Aid, because if you just drink the Kool-Aid, you're going to end up dead. Thanks for coming. We're going to get back out there. That's it.
All right, everybody. Thank you all for joining us today. One last thing I did forget to mention, Dracarys is also one of our great AU time zone groups, and they were there at that fight. But I'll tell you this right now. Everybody in the Imperium has been pulling their weight this entire war, and we love you guys. Thank you all for showing up for the show. Thank you all for showing up to the fleets. This is why we're winning. This is why we're going to win. Programming notes. First of all, I'm going to raid Viper's Fang, our dear friend Viper's Fang, who, if you don't watch my one, you still should probably know. He's one of our streamers. He's asked us to do that, so I'm going to do that as well. In addition, Rampage Incorporated, my dear friend Merkelchen, has started up super early today because he wants to party because it's my one's birthday. So he's also going.
I can't wait for the birthday stream.
We're going to go ahead. We're going to rock out the end of the show. Hopefully we'll see you guys either on Rampage or Vipers next, and then later tonight for Saturday Night Swarm for mine one's birthday. Guys, we're on the cusp. Keep it going. Keep pushing. Keep getting in fleets. We're going to kill these guys real hard. No, not believing. No hubris. We got this. Let's go. You stay classy, New Eden.